Is a drying up market for Lauri Markkanen, making the Dallas Mavericks potential players for his services? And is Goran Dragic trying to force his way out? And what does it mean for the Raptors and his situation? This is the gray area right here on Kevin Gray Sports. My name is Kevin Gray. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports. Be sure to hit that subscribe button right there for all things Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube, and catch you on your home with the Dallas Cowboys and Texas Rangers. 105.3 The Fan. Could Lauri Markkanen and Goran Dragic wind up being Dallas Mavericks after all? Per Jake Fisher of Bleacher Report, there are several teams, including the Dallas Mavericks, that are interested in the services of Lauri Markkanen and are willing to potentially offer him an average annual salary of $15 million per season, but the Chicago Bulls are seeking at least a first-round pick as part of any kind of compensation to move in a sign-and-trade for the former number 7 overall pick back in 2017 in Lauri Markkanen. Obviously, a pretty steep asking price for a guy who disappointed last year, averaging a little over 13 points per game in 51 games, 25 of those games coming off the bench. A lot of folks are hoping that Lauri Markkanen can kind of get back to the guy that he was back in 2018 when he was averaging 18-9 during his sophomore campaign. That is the appeal if you're a Dallas Mavericks team that has the likes of Kristaps Porzingis on this squad and others, and pairing him alongside Lauri Markkanen, what that potential front court could look like. Then there's Goran Dragic. Goran Dragic, of course, making news and headlines saying that he has quote-unquote higher ambitions and that Toronto was not necessarily his preferred destination. Dragic has since walked those comments back, apologizing to the Toronto Raptors organization and their fans for what he had said about potentially playing or not wanting to play for the Toronto Raptors this upcoming season, and has committed himself to wherever he's going to play to do so with his full commitment. Now, what's interesting from Jake Fisher, also from Bleacher Report, is that he is reporting that the Toronto Raptors are going to be meeting with Goran Dragic during Summer League to discuss his quote-unquote situation. Now, teams across the league have been willing to try and wait out the Raptors to see if they will eventually buy out Goran Dragic, who is owed $19 million going into this upcoming season, and any team that will trade for him will have an expiring contract coming off their books going into this next summer. So obviously there's appeal for Dragic, even at 35 years of age at this point in his career, having an expiring contract on your roster, but more importantly for the Mavericks, a secondary playmaker and shot creator that could go alongside Luka Doncic to take some of that pressure off of him in terms of his ball handling and scoring responsibilities. Luka Doncic signed his $207 million maximum extension with the Mavericks today. Here is his answer when asked about Goran Dragic and the potential meeting and getting with him, if you will, on the Mavericks. Here's what Luka Doncic had to say.
I don't think we can say we don't want to get fined by NBA.
So Luka Doncic obviously saying not much, not wanting to get in trouble with the NBA in terms of tampering. So you see why he answered the question the way that he did. But that has not precluded Mavericks fans from wanting to see Goran Dragic in a Dallas Mavericks uniform and having the questions asked of the organization why a trade has not been facilitated as of yet, whether it be moving on from Maxi Kleber or Dwight Powell or whomever combination of players that you need to in order to match the salary in order to acquire a Goran Dragic. Mavericks fans who are probably watching this video right now are saying, we don't know why the Mavericks haven't decided to move him as of yet, or move to get him as of yet in the case of Goran Dragic. But hey, time will tell if the Mavericks still will have the opportunity to try and do so, because it is very clear Lauri Markkanen wants a change of scenery. Goran Dragic wants a change of scenery. Both of them have expressed interest in the past for wanting to play with the Dallas Mavericks, as it's been widely reported. For Dragic and for Markkanen, could they eventually be Dallas Mavericks? Now, that's interesting because when you're trying to appease a 22-year-old superstar who just signed his $207 million extension, chemistry is going to be a big part of trying to help this team move forward, and continuity, whether it be with the current players that you have on this team or bringing in some new pieces as they already done with Reggie Bullock and Sterling Brown and trying to assimilate them into your roster. And if you're going to add Markkanen and Dragic, you're going to be looking at a very different basketball team than what ended this past season, unfortunately, at the hands of the Los Angeles Clippers for the second year in a row. Here is what Luka Doncic had to say when I asked him about what he wants to see and what kind of say he wants to have for this Mavericks roster going forward, and why chemistry apparently is a big part of it.
I mean, I know we made some great moves in the free agency, but I think one of the most important things to win is the chemistry that the team have off the court. Like, for example, in Slovenia, we had amazing chemistry the whole time, and I think that led us to winning games, and I think that's what we need in Dallas.
So Luka Doncic comparing his Slovenian national team experience in terms of the chemistry that he had to what he wants to see with the Dallas Mavericks going forward. For Markkanen, a guy who can be a true double-double guy, and for Goran Dragic, a guy who has been a teammate of Luka Doncic's in the past, played, Lauri Markkanen did, for Dirk Nowitzki during the Rising Stars game a couple of years ago. Dragic obviously knows and is the mentor of Luka Doncic and has been teammates with him in the past. You could see why Mavericks fans are clamoring for the ideas of getting Lauri Markkanen and Goran Dragic to this roster, because it means continuing to appease Luka Doncic. Will the Mavericks ultimately get creative enough to pull the trigger in order to try and get Goran Dragic and or Lauri Markkanen, or will they try to play a game of chicken with the Toronto Raptors and wait for them to eventually blink first by releasing Goran Dragic and then trying out their services to try and get him as a free agent? All of that will continue to play out, it appears, for quite some time. But for Markkanen, who wants to change the scenery, Goran Dragic, who has made it abundantly clear that he does not want to play in Toronto, there's at least two players who say they want to be Dallas Mavericks, and we know how important Mavericks fans feel about players who say they want to be Mavericks players. Do what you can to try and get those guys, because there isn't too many players, unfortunately, that are saying that out loud, especially after you heard the report about Kyle Lowry finishing the Mavericks in second place on his list by eventually choosing Miami. Now, look, Kyle Lowry was never going to come to the Dallas Mavericks. He's got too many personal ties with your man Jimmy Butler. He's the godfather of Jimmy Butler's daughter. There was no way that Kyle Lowry, who was quote-unquote intrigued, according to reports from the Miami Herald, about the idea of joining the Dallas Mavericks, the familial and friendly ties were just too much when it came to Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler. But I digress. Can the Mavericks eventually get both Goran Dragic and Lauri Markkanen? I guess that's a question that will be answered here in the coming days. And for Mavericks fans, I'm sure the angst will continue until at least one or both are on this roster. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports. Be sure to hit that subscribe button right there for all things Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube. It's been another episode of The Gray Area. We'll talk to you later. Peace.